Welcome to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Zeke, Cappel,
Emilio,
Jack Cowart.
And today we're going to talk some draft news. Starting off with, Wendell Carter Jr.
All right, I guess I'll start.
I'm so upset still.
We can all agree that we didn't really like the choice that we made. Wendell Carter Jr., if you ask anyone that's not a Bulls fan, will always be like, oh, he's a good fit. Well, he is a good fit, but we were hoping to get a better player than Wendell Carter, to fit in.
With the 7th pick.
Yeah.
With the top 10 pick.
He could fit in our system, but what, is he just going to be some random starter? He's not going to be. Is he going to be some? I wanted to get a special player with that 7th pick. We tanked a whole year to get this guy, so I was a little upset for that.
I agree absolutely, and I think what Wendell Carter is really, not to put some disrespect on his name, but I think it's pretty disposable. I think players like Wendell Carter with things that Wendell Carter can do are a lot easier to find than the potential monster that Michael Porter Jr. can be.
Well, just a lot of small forwards in this draft in general, too. Like, if you even look at Miles and McCall, them, their ceiling is so much higher than Wendell Carter Jr.'s. But if Wendell Carter Jr. reaches his ceiling, then we'll be okay. But that's still a really big risk in general, especially with the 7th pick. I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Like, Wendell Carter Jr. at his highest potential, reaching that, is not anywhere near close Michael Porter Jr. at his ceiling. And that's kind of like, it's scary because, you always want the highest value.
Yeah, and the reason why Brandon brings up those small forwards is just because, we're not happy with Wendell Carter, and we might have not been known what's going on with Michael Porter Jr. Like, his back injury could be way serious, and that's why he went so low.
Right.
But we still could have picked up the small forwards that he named, like McCall and Miles Bridges. They still would have been, in our opinions, better pickups than Wendell Carter just because of their potential, and we already feel like he's a better player.
Yeah, I had Mikal Bridges higher on my list. I feel like I like Carter a bit more than you guys do at the moment.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not upset that we have him. I agree that his ceiling isn't very high. I don't think he's going to become like a star, which is what we wanted. We wanted a star. He'll be like a third or fourth option for us. I think he's fine. I think he's a good versatile player. I think I've heard reports that if he wasn't playing with Bagley at Duke, that's who he was with, right? Yeah, that he could have been a top 5 prospect. I know we still have our issues with him, mainly that he's slow. But the more I think about it, the more I'm okay with it. I'm not in love with it, but I'm okay with it. Does that make sense?
I absolutely agree, but my thing is, this is a top 10 pick, and honestly, if Michael Porter Jr.'s injury doesn't take a huge toll on his career, that was a huge shot.
Yeah, we're gonna be a what if. We're gonna what if the Bulls drafted Michael Porter Jr. That could be in the future.
Yeah, that could be a potential thing. But the thing is, though, too, I feel like in a lot of other drafts, he would have went around maybe 15. In this one, he just so happened to go at 7, which I find kind of ridiculous. I feel like even in this draft, if the Bulls didn't draft him, he could have went down lower. So I feel like the Bulls, if they really wanted him, they should have definitely tried to trade down and still get him, because he probably still would have been there, and they would have got an extra asset with that.
Right, because Sexton probably still would have gone to the Cavs. That probably still would have happened.
That's definitely something that they would need too.
Yeah, I understand. I understand why people always say it's fit in the system. The good things that he's going to bring to our team is that he's going to spread the floor, obviously. He's going to basically do everything that Michael Porter Jr. did, but at a slower rate, I feel like, or not as an efficient rate.
We're talking about Wendell Carter?
Yeah.
I don't think he can do nearly as many things as Michael Porter Jr. can, though. I mean, he will help speed. Well, he could. I don't want to bag on him completely, because he did shoot pretty well from the 3. He is a very high, just from the field in general. He shot
with limited
56
shots, though.
Limited, yeah, but overall he did shoot 56.1% from the field. And he shot 41.3% from the 3. So he obviously has some tools, but at the same time, it's some of those tools are a little slow. Some of those tools, I don't know how well they're going to get off in the NBA.
Exactly. Yeah, another thing is compared to Michael Porter Jr., I'm going to assume that, because I watched Wendell Carter and a lot of his shots weren't really that contested either. So, and a lot of Michael Porter Jr. shots are probably contested. So that 51% doesn't speak a lot to me.
The biggest thing with regards to Porter, why he fell, it has to be the medical records that like we don't have access to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like I said, I'm not thrilled about taking Carter, but like I'm okay with passing on Porter because the risk was so high. Like there are already reports coming out that he might not play this year at all, and even next year, I've heard that too. So. Like you said, Zeke, if he does pan out, like it'll be a huge what if, but if he doesn't pan out, we made a good choice. And I don't think we're at the point in our rebuild where we can take that big risk. I think we need someone that we can rely on, and we can't rely on Porter at the moment.
I feel like it was more of a solid choice more than a good one.
Right.
It was a safe choice. I feel like Miles and Michael would have been even a better choice.
And I definitely see
And
what you're.
he's nodding his head yes because he doesn't have a mic.
Right. And I definitely see what you're saying, Jack. Especially Jake. I definitely see what you're saying, Jack. Especially with you saying, we're not in that point in our rebuild yet. And I actually agree for the most part, but I think Michael Porter Jr. was a special case.
Also, I think that Michael Porter Jr. could have potentially even helped your rebuild because if you pick him, right, and he is going to be out for the next season, you could still tank for another season. And part of me feels like that could even help. That could help your rebuild even more, just to counter that. Like, I feel like Michael Porter Jr. not playing could have potentially even been a good thing. I mean, like look at what happened with Ben Simmons. I mean, he just helped them get better draft picks going on in the future. I mean, they did get Markelle Fultz, and he was also injured. So I mean, they have some trouble over there.
Right.
But I really liked his potential, and going into next season, there are going to be some other good players that could potentially help the Bulls, and there we are again, where I feel like we're in this like the Bulls upper management makes some good decisions, and then they'll make some bad ones, and that concerns me because like. You need to be able to look not just at this year, but at the next year coming forward, and to always maximize your assets. And I feel like maybe even drafting Michael Porter Jr. could have done that.
All right. Seems like everyone agrees.
One thing I do want to say about Wendell Carter Jr., though, I still feel bad because I want him to be a good player because the Bulls draft him, even though I did not want him. He wasn't even in my top 5 when we talked about it on our other episode. Just putting that out there. I really did not want him just because I wanted more scorers on this Bulls team. That's what I really wanted. But he does bring us something that we do need, and it is rebounding. And we do need that a lot. And a lot of teams, they can be very good at scoring, but rebounding can bring them down. And I remember watching a lot of Bulls games, and there were not a lot of second chance points. And that hurt the Bulls a lot in a lot of games. And I'm hoping that Wendell Carter Jr. can bring that for the Bulls because they definitely need that. Now, we know we have Bobby Portis, and Robin Lopez, he actually does get a decent amount of rebounds. But Bobby Portis, like, he gets rebounds, but it usually seems like it's only when he wants to. He is still running around the court trying to get three-point shots. Wendell Carter Jr., while he can shoot the three, he does seem like more of a stationary player once he gets to the other side of the court. So he'll be around, like down low for the Bulls for that exact purpose. And so I feel like maybe he can help the Bulls with that. But at the end of the day, like Emilio said, that's not a player you pick in the top 10. That's a player and at most it seems like a player that's a role player to me. If that's what you want from him, you can get that same type of production from a player that plays their role. Now he might do a little bit more than that, which I'm hoping, because then the pick makes sense. But it's still a risk, and I personally feel like if you're gonna take a risk on a player, maybe you should take a risk on a player with the higher ceiling.
I agree.
Yeah, the problem of drafting Wendell Carter Jr. is no team's really going to want to trade for that. A lot of the teams would want to trade for more of a potential player. You know, that's what the Hawks and the Mavs did. The Hawks drafted Luka, and they're like, all right, well, you can have Luka if you give us another first round pick, and we could have done something with that with the Bulls if we drafted another player that had more potential, but we didn't, and that was kind of the problem that I had because now we're stuck with him.
Well, speaking about Luka Doncic, that trade that they made for Trae Young, I mean, they got Trae Young and a future first-round draft pick. Now it's protected, so it might go all the way, I believe, to like 2022 or 2023. So depending on how their how many games they win, it depends on that, like whatever order they come in the draft. So that does matter, but they're eventually going to get that pick because in 2023 or 2022 it is protected at that point. Who do you think though is in a better position, Luka Doncic or Trae Young?
I think the Mavs won that trade by a long shot. I think Doncic's upside, I know you guys aren't that big fan of him at the moment, but I think his upside totally outweighs Trae Young's.
I've been on record saying on this podcast that I'm not the biggest fan of Luka, but now that he went to the Mavs, I am kind of excited for him, and I feel like he actually can become a special player. I just never thought he'd be like this top 5 player, whatever. He could. I mean, it's definitely possible. I still don't kind of believe that, but I do believe it a little more, and he's set up for more success with the Mavs.
Yeah, totally. I think it was a great landing spot because Luka was mostly being talked about as going to the Kings, where they're clogged up at guard, and Atlanta, where they're just not a good team, so he probably wouldn't get the development that he needs. Yeah. But in the Mavs, they're nearing the end of a rebuild.
Plus, they have something special that most teams don't have,
right?
And that's Dirk Nowitzki. He can be that could be really, really good for Luka. The way I see the situation is, I think it worked out for the Mavs. And honestly, as you guys know, I don't really like them, and I don't see them doing well ever. But overall, I am happy for Luka. I think that was the right place. I don't think he would have fit at the Hawks, and I just don't think it would have worked out there. But yeah, I like him at the Hawks. I like Trae Young in general. I mean, he struggles big time with turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was kind of in a weird situation playing in college.
I feel for Trae Young right now so much because he is almost in the exact same situation that he was in college, where he has to be completely solely the man by himself, especially because Dennis Schroeder wants out. And if they give them that, then Trae Young is going to be the only option yet again, and he might have troubles with turnovers again
because of that.
And so for Luka, I don't know if maybe Luka. I do like that he has the mentor with Dirk Nowitzki and everything with the Mavs, but I don't know if they won the trade with him. Like, I don't know if I can say that. I will say that Luka's in a better position to succeed than Trae Young, but I don't know who's the better player at this point.
Right. I feel like you can't really say who won the trade yet because we don't know who's going to end up being better for their career. We can predict on it. Honestly, I feel like actually I don't even know yet, but I feel like Luka is way more set up for success just because Mark Cuban is a great owner. As much as people want to talk trash on him or whatever, he makes sure the chemistry and relationships with the whole team is great. And the reason why Luka didn't want to leave his team in Europe, like a few months ago before the draft, he announced that he wasn't going to leave his team, but he ended up coming back probably because the Mavs were like, hey, we have something special here. We'll make sure you get the respect that you want. We'll give you whatever, just because that's how the Mavs are. So I definitely feel like he's set up for success way more.
Yeah, where Trae is not. Like Brandon was saying, he's in pretty much the same situation. The only potential guy he has to help him there in Atlanta is John Collins, who I think is going to be fantastic.
One thing I do want to say about Luka, though, as well, is that Luka is the type of player that needs a lot of shooters around him to make so he can make his plays work. And the problem with that is too, if you look at the roster coming in the next season, they don't have Seth Curry. Now he didn't play that season because he was injured. They don't have Doug McDermott, who we all know I don't really love, but he is considered a shooter, so they're gonna miss him. And they're also going to miss Yogi Ferrell. They're missing a lot of players that can score, who if they don't get players to resign...
They got rid of all those players?
No, they don't have... their contracts expire.
Gotcha.
So if they don't resign some more shooters... I mean, he's obviously going to be in a better situation because they have Harrison Barnes and they have Dirk and they have Dennis Smith Jr., who I don't think Trae Young could play next to. Dennis, I don't think that either.
I absolutely agree.
And so I feel like he still isn't in a better position, but... he could be in a better one. They just need to make sure they get him some shooters because that's how he's going to succeed. Because he's probably not going to play point guard on that team, but he is always going to look for the pass. Because especially when you looked at that OKC exhibition match, when he can't if he can't get a shot off, he's not going to shoot, which could be a good thing, but also could set him back.
Right.
Because, I mean, obviously he's not taking bad shots, so that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, he might be forcing some other passes. So with Luka, he needs some other people around him. But if you're looking at who is in a better position to succeed right now, currently, obviously it's Luka. I couldn't disagree with that.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, man, I am worried for Trae Young because he just went through a year with that in college, and it did not go well. I mean, I'm pretty sure he led the NCAA in turnovers or his conference. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
and
it was
that's
really high, though.
And that's probably going to be a big issue at the Hawks, again, like you said, Brandon. But, I mean, in theory, I guess this could help him because he'd have to go through this again at the NBA level, and maybe, like the way Kobe said, you just learn how to get over it. You just learn how to figure it out. But I don't know, like, at least in terms of maximizing his production the first year, it's not going to be the best situation for him. But give him a few years, and we don't really know. We'll see what happens.
A player who would be interesting to see out of this draft, actually, though, is Mikal Bridges. Now, he was in a weird situation where he got drafted by the 76ers. His mom worked for the 76ers, and then he got traded away, to the Suns, and it's a little weird because I thought that it was a perfect pick for the Suns. That's exactly who I would have picked. I said it beforehand. I think I said in prior podcasts, I even said like the Suns should pick him because I think he is good for recruiting LeBron James because he can score and he can shoot the three, and LeBron loves 3-point shooters.
Absolutely.
And he has size. He has everything you want. He plays really hard defense. He is probably going to, I believe, be a very, very good player. He has a lot of things he can do. He has a lot of things he can give a team. And then they traded him to the Suns, which I'm a little confused, but it's actually very good for the Suns. But it's very bad, in my opinion, for the Sixers. Now, if you're looking at it from the Sixers' point of view, they did not only mess up with the draft with this trade, they messed up with free agency as well. Because the whole narrative for the whole Sixers season was to say, we want LeBron James, and we're going to get him this free agency, and we're going to do whatever we can. And if I'm the Sixers, that means if I can get Mikal Bridges, I'm getting Mikal Bridges, because I'm thinking getting more 3-point shooters for LeBron is what he wants. And he's not even just that, he's versatile in like many other aspects as well. But then they trade him away. So what are you trying to do here?
Yeah, I feel like it was a tough choice. I feel like the Sixers are probably LeBron's second or third option, and I feel like the Sixers are looking at their options and they're like, well, we can take Mikal Bridges and see if we can get LeBron, and if he doesn't, but if he didn't come, it'd be kind of bad, because you could have got Zaire Smith, and depending on who you think is better or not, both are different both have to do with LeBron, because one is if LeBron does come and one doesn't, and I guess they went with the doesn't, which I feel like kind of foreshadows LeBron not going to Philly.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a lot of reports that Philly's trying to clear cap space for LeBron, like moving Jared Bayless and maybe trading him with a couple picks or something like that. But I think trading Bridges for Smith sort of shows that they're not banking on it, because they're actually not that deep at guard at the moment. Their point guard situation is Simmons, McConnell, and their shooting guard situation is J.J. Redick, Fultz, Bellinelli.
And they're definitely not resigning J.J. Redick.
Exactly. Yeah, so if Fultz doesn't pan out, which is a real option at this point at point guard or shooting guard, I think Smith is what like their backup plan is for Fultz.
Right, and he is a very explosive athlete, and at least the way I see it, outside of, in context with LeBron, I think, though I absolutely would have kept Mikal Bridges on any team before I would have moved him, just because I'm that hot on him, I do think, though it was probably not their best move, there is a side to it, because, like I said, he's a really explosive player, and honestly, this is a risk that they can afford taking, and plus they got an unprotected first-round pick with it via Miami, so that's they have some things to play with here. Even in context of getting LeBron James, you can move that pick as well. Like, it gives you some options. But overall, I would have just kept Mikal Bridges.
I would have kept him too because regardless of even if they get LeBron James or not, they still need a small forward.
Absolutely.
And I mean, the Suns obviously needed a small forward too. That's why they traded for him, and we can get to that in a second. But when you look at this, it's like he could be a part that completes their offense even if they don't get LeBron in a way, because it's a hole that they definitely needed to fill. And I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're thinking in this whole scenario. But the Suns, they were thinking, because now they have Devin Booker, and they have Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, and now that's 3 spots that could turn into. Devin Booker is already a very, very good scorer.
Absolutely.
And these other two, they obviously they have the ability to do those for you as well. So you're looking at a good team.
Plus, Mikal Bridges has, he can let DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker get in their bags. They don't have to worry about the switch because Mikal Bridges does really well at guarding any position. So that's a really good tool to have. I'm actually, even though I'm not a Suns fan, I'm really excited to see how they play together and how it works, specifically the Ayton and Mikal Bridges pairing. That's going to be fun.
I feel like the Suns are actually going to be pretty good this year because
Possibly.
they have Booker, they have Ayton, they have Michael. I'm pretty sure I'm missing someone. Who did they just draft? Josh Jackson. They have him.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good, solid players. I feel like they'll actually be good this year.
The thing I like about the Suns' moves is that they don't have to be good this year. They have a lot of years to get good because Devin Booker is actually younger than Mikal Bridges. So if they don't pan out this year, like you said, they have Booker who can move to point guard if they want to, because
I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, because there are reports that they're not going to bring back Elfrid Payton, which I'm happy with. I'm not a big Payton fan, but let's say your future lineup is Devin Booker at point guard, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Josh Jackson, and another draft pick. Let's say I think that's really good.
I don't know if I'd want Devin Booker to be my point guard though, because he's like a born scorer.
Oh, definitely.
And I feel like I'd want him to focus on scoring more than anything else. Now, if he can do both, that's cool, but scoring is his forte. And one thing to consider too as well is that yes, they don't have they have a lot of young players though, but Devin Booker's contract only goes into next season. So if Devin Booker, say, like a lot of NBA players today do, gets tired of the waiting period, because a lot of players do that, even though he's young, he might get tired because a lot of people are just moving here and there, even if they're on a good team, like Kevin Durant. Now, I'm just a little concerned that maybe that could happen with Devin Booker. So if I'm the Suns, I did all these things, so maybe I could show him and say, hey, we're getting somewhere. We have a core.
Yeah, remember his tweet? He said, "I'm sick and tired of not making the playoff. I'm going to make it next year." Also, I actually do see Booker. I actually could see him as a point guard, just because they said his passing and just dribbling the ball has gotten really good, and if you can, and I know he. It seems like his fit would be better at shooting guard just because he scores, but there's a lot of good scoring guards that play point guard today that can do both. And I just feel like the reason why they did that is just so they can put Mikal Bridges in the starting lineup, and then you have Devin Booker.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree with that, and I see he could fill the position. But if you want to get, at least in my eyes, if you want to get the maximum production that Devin Booker offers, you want to keep him away from that. At least that's the way I see it.
And also, I mean, I don't know if even the Suns feel that exact same way, Zeke, because they were reported saying that they want Lonzo Ball, and they're willing to take over Luol Deng's contract for him. And I think the point of that is that they want a player who can really distribute the ball to all of their scorers. Because Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, they're all scorers in their own regard. They are definitely very good at that. And I think that could be a problem with the Suns, is that they don't really have someone to do that for them. So I think that they do need someone who's more of a pass-first type player. Obviously, ball movement is important between all players.
Absolutely.
But you need someone sometimes to force that when the players that you do have, that's not their forte.
Yeah, the reports were early too, weren't they, Jack? Like the point guard stuff, they were all really early. I feel like it was because they're really trying to fill that gap of the point guard position, and that's why they just say that, because they said, hey, this could work too, you know?
Yeah, I think they traded a second-round pick for Elfrid Payton, and he's gone. So they're just trying to fill that spot, like you said. If they don't sign him, like some people might look at that as a wasted second-round pick. I don't think it is. I think you traded the second-round pick for a chance to see if you get your starting point guard.
I also think that when you look at other teams in the league, I mean, even just looking at like Miles Bridges, and just to point this out, Miles and Mikal are not brothers. We may have said this in the past. I just want to point this out that
sorry, guys.
I am very sorry if they ever listen to this. I don't even know if there's a possibility of that they ever will find this. But if they do, we are sorry. We appreciate your games. And, I mean, if you listened, you probably know that. But yeah, we're sorry about that. But the Clippers, like, they ran into the same problem that 76ers did. They drafted the right guy. They just traded him. I don't understand. Like, they needed a small forward. They really needed a small forward. I don't know if I could have stressed that anymore.
It hurts.
And Miles is a guy who has a high motor. He plays defense. He gets rebounds. I think in college he averaged 7 per game. He can score anywhere on the court. He can do so many things for your team. I think he can be good on any team. He could help any team. And the Clippers said, hey, we'll trade him to the Hornets.
It's funny because Emilio's a big-time Clippers fan, and this pretty much happens every year with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly just I don't even have much to say, man. Like, it's just heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak with me, and even go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was a great move for Charlotte because I think
which I hate them.
Yeah, when I saw that they took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I was like, okay, maybe they're gonna trade Kemba. Because like they just got rid of Dwight Howard, and I was theorizing that they're going to be in the midst of a rebuild. But if they're taking on Miles Bridges, they could still keep Kemba and try to develop him being Bridges like on an actual good team.
Yeah, Michael Jordan said, and he's the owner.
Really?
You don't say. I'm just saying for the people in the audience
just if you guys didn't know, Michael Jordan owns the Charlotte Hornets. Okay,
and
continue.
He played for the Chicago Bulls.
Wow, all right.
And he might be the best player ever.
All right, we get it.
He won 6 championships.
Yes.
A 6 times final MVP. And
Y'all
he
are
scored 28 points.
And he also played baseball for a little bit.
He's also the best player in the league. Anyway.
Currently?
Yeah. Yeah, right now he's better than everyone.
Joe facts.
Dude, I don't even
probably
remember
give Rozier the works.
Dude, I don't know. You
What were
guys
you
are
gonna
making
say
fun of
about
me and I
Charlotte?
forgot.
What did Michael Jordan say that he wanted Miles or something?
He said that
obviously?
He's not going to trade Kemba Walker unless he gets the same like superstar potential back. Like he
And,
doesn't really
you're not
want
gonna
like a
get
draft
that.
pick.
Which
He wants
that
another
never
star
happens.
player.
But if anyone wants to do it, it'd be my boy. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like it was good for Charlotte, and I'm not a Charlotte fan. I'm not really a Clippers fan, but I was just upset because I'm a very big like value type player, and fitting in if you can find the right value and fit a need at the same time, it just seems in my head logical that you
Two
do
birds,
that.
one stone.
Yeah, so that's how I feel. Now I feel like it could have been good for them because they have like Patrick Beverly, and then they'll have Lou Williams, and they'll have Miles Bridges and Danilo Gallinari, and that's 4 out of the 5, and that's pretty solid. Now you also have Milos Teodosic if he decides to opt in.
He did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's just another guy who can distribute the ball really well, and they do have like scorers on that team. It's just now they have one less. And one less because that they needed because, I mean, Danilo Gallinari plays small forward. Sometimes he does play power forward, but he's getting older now. He's 29. He was never super athletic. And, I mean, he had athleticism, but not the type of athleticism and strength that Miles Bridges has.
Absolutely.
And, by the way, Miles Bridges is only a rookie, and he's still very strong. So let's just put that out there. So he could have done so much more that you actually needed, and then you said, all right, we like you, we drafted you, but for some reason we're just going to trade you. I don't know. You were actually the perfect pick for us, but we're going to move out of the way.
But we hate Emilio, so nah.
I think what had happened was like they agreed to the deal after Charlotte took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's why it's such a great move from Charlotte because they knew that for some reason the Clippers wanted Shai over Miles Bridges. Well, we can debate whether it's the right move or not, but like that's why it was such a genius move.
If the trade never happened, it would have been a really dumb move.
But I mean, I think it works though because whether or not the trade goes through, like Charlotte can still use Shai.
That's true. I get you there.
I also want to talk about my guy, Chandler Hutchinson. Man, this is the first time that the Bulls picked a guy that was besides Derrick Rose. The Bulls picked a guy that I wanted. I was like, what? I literally jumped up in the air. Not lying. It happened.
Yeah, when I wasn't with you guys on draft night, but when they drafted him, I was like, Brandon's gonna like that.
I was ecstatic. I was so happy because this guy I feel like has so much offensive potential, and this is something that the Bulls really need, especially at the small forward position. I was so nervous that they weren't going to fill the hole that they needed to fill, and they did. They did it. I was surprised because, like Garpax, a lot of people want them fired. And, I'm not going to say I haven't felt that way on multiple occasions, but that was one time where I was like, hey, you guys did something right.
I'll give you that one.
And I'm so happy. I'm so happy that they did this. He is, I feel like, in my eyes, I think he's going to pan out for sure. Now, that's in my eyes. He's going to be the
Donovan Mitchell of the draft.
Hey, man, you never know, man.
I mean,
you never know. It could happen.
Brandon called that last year even.
I did. I said, hey,
Donovan
Mitchell's going to be good. A lot of people were like, bro, who's Donovan Mitchell? So like, a good player, that's who. But
Donovan?
I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited as well. I mean, the guy has a range of tools with just finishing at the rim. Not necessarily that's all he has to do, but I mean, he has so many tools in just that own category of his arsenal.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting, and I think that's something that'll fit really well with the Bulls, and I'm just excited.
Yeah, his finishing is so fun to watch. I think with the way we have Hutchinson finishing at the rim, Zach LaVine finishing at the rim, the only thing that we're lacking at the moment is shooting, which is kind of odd because of Hoiberg's system, but Hoiberg is really good at developing a player shot, and Hutchinson shot 35% in college, so I think if Hoiberg can help develop his shot, like he could have that Donovan Mitchell or Kyle Kuzma potential.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, I feel like his shot's already good. I mean, 35% is actually still pretty good. I do want it to get better, obviously.
Absolutely.
I mean, I always want improvement. But also, one thing that we're really missing is that we're really missing a player who can create his own shot. Now, Zach LaVine can do that, but we need more than just one guy who can do that. Because if Zach LaVine's off, then what are we gonna do? Not have anyone who can do that?
Right, and
No.
especially to just keep up in context of the league right now. Like, that's something you definitely need.
Yeah, you need at least, I think, 2 or 3 guys that can create their own shot, and I feel like Chandler Hutchinson does that for them. And this is why I'm excited for the pick. And I just feel like we have a whole another offensive weapon that we need. And maybe this will overshadow Wendell Carter Jr.'s ability, like his lack of ability.
Yeah, it'll be like
feel.
Kuzma being better than Lonzo in 1 year.
Well,
The Lakers.
I still, it's a little different because they are both scorers in nature. Well, at least
Right.
they're supposed to be. But Wendell Carter Jr. is not a scorer in nature. He's a
Right, he's
rebounder.
an amazing role-playing 5.
Yeah, and so like that's the difference. But if that happens, I'm not gonna be upset because let me tell you, Chandler Hutchinson's ceiling is still higher than Wendell Carter's, which says something about a 7 pick. But
agree.
I mean, Chandler Hutchinson went down to 22. And his ceiling is probably higher than Wendell Carter Jr.'s.
Doesn't it feel really good to be excited about a draft prospect from the Bulls?
I haven't felt this in forever because no one knew marketing at the time. I swear on my life, I didn't say anything bad about him. I just said, well, I guess we're going to see how he plays. Like every draft pick we've ever had in the past, I've just been like, oh, all right. And then this happens, and I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, in terms of our future, I'm not entirely sure if we're going to continue tanking or if we're going to be trying for a low playoff seed. But our starting lineup next year is going to be Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, maybe Chandler Hutchinson if he wins that job, Lauri Markkanen, and either Robin Lopez or Wendell Carter. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it's missing like a top tier star, but we can get there in a few years, I think.
I also want to say that there's also been reports, and I don't know, I mean, there are reports that the Bulls aren't very excited about Zach LaVine's progress, which is a little fishy to me because they literally just said, I feel like weeks ago, that they were excited about Zach LaVine's progress. And so that is like, okay, are you guys just trying to play games so that way you don't have to pay too much for him? Because you guys already screwed yourselves over by saying, we'll match any offer. And they should have, why would you say that on paper? Like, why would you say at that at all. Because if I'm another team, I'm going, okay, here's a super high offer. Please match it so that way you guys put yourself in your own grave. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So maybe they're trying to fix their own problem. But if I'm any other team, I'm not buying it. Because you clearly just said weeks ago that you were happy with him. But with that being said, if they are changing their mind for sure, I don't know if I'm upset if Zach LaVine isn't there. I mean, it might lessen the trade value from that Jimmy Butler trade, but at the same time, it's like if Zach LaVine is the Zach LaVine we saw, the Zach LaVine that is a ball hog, the Zach LaVine that throws up a bunch of shots because he thinks that's the only way he can help a team, then maybe that might be a good thing. But if it was just because he was playing in a contract year and he wanted to show that he can still play, and he had a hard time showing that, but it's also, I mean, he was injured, then that's another thing. So it just really depends on whether or not the Bulls want him and see where that's going to be headed.
We should definitely try and trade him for something if we want to get rid of him. We can't let any other team just match that offer.
I mean, we can't trade him though if we don't sign him. He's not under our contract.
That's what I'm saying. With a sign and trade.
A sign and trade.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna get for Zach LaVine?
Yeah, I honestly like a mid first round draft pick or an early second round draft pick, and you don't know what draft pick they're gonna be, but like the predictions from teams, like if Denver was like, all right, you can have our first pick for our shooting guard, which they kind of need a shooting guard, right? That's Jamal Murray and I forgot what the other dude's name, but they don't have that position, so we can easily get it from them.
Gary Harris is their shooting
right.
guard.
I also feel like, that could be smart because especially with you don't know where LeBron is going, and whatever team LeBron is going, you can almost guarantee that the team's going to be shaken up in the middle of the season or the end of the season. So maybe you could get a draft pick, a good draft pick that a LeBron team could use, like always, that's a draft pick that they could use, but they have to trade because, LeBron doesn't like their teams. But that he asked for, by the way. So I'm saying maybe that would be a good thing because you can always count on some type of trade happening, but that is also a risk. Now I do think Zach LaVine has a lot of upside because he can score. He has that scoring ability. He has the ability to create his own shot, which is something that I just said the Bulls need. But he can't be a ball hog. He cannot be a ball hog, and I can't stress that anymore. If you're a ball hog, you're not helping your team unless you have Michael Jordan's scoring ability, and Michael Jordan wasn't even a ball hog. So it's like that. Then you can. It could be your turn every single time. But if you don't have that type of scoring ability, I'm sorry, you can't do that. So
end of story.
Yeah, end of story. But what do you guys feel about Antonio Blakeney though? Where do you guys want him playing if they resign him?
His contract's huge, right?
No, Antonio Blakeney's contract. He
contract. He was the G League guy.
Oh, yeah. He was kind of good in the Bulls. For the minutes that he was given,
Yeah.
He showed some potential, but
he did have a game winner.
He did.
He did. It was cool.
Which was upsetting at the time, but still really fun to watch.
It was super fun to watch. I was like, no way, he just waved off campaign. Which I mean, whose campaign? Wave him off. If he wants the ball at the end of the game, please. He cannot shoot. Wave him to the side. Be like, what are you doing? You should be on the bench right now at the end of a game.
Why do we play him? Oh, for tanking.
Well,
obviously.
For tanking. Yeah.
He got better over the course of the season. I don't think he's a part of our long-term future, but I don't think he's the joke that he was last year.
Oh, I'm just saying he can't shoot. I'm just saying, I was like, I don't want him taking the last shot in the game.
True.
He's not the joke he was last year, but I mean, he's
at
mid-range.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's still a joke, and I think that's what matters.
I disagree. I think he's a totally fine third-string point guard.
Third string. That means you're never playing.
Yeah, I know.
That means you're never playing unless your team's really, really good and it's some serious garbage time. Yeah. So my thing is I want to see, for me personally, I am actually really high on Antonio Blakeney. I think he has a lot of potential because he can score, and he's actually.
You think the Bulls should keep him?
Yeah, for sure. I think the Bulls should keep him for sure. And there's no question in my mind because he can score. And we still need scorers. We still need scoring guards because a lot of our guards are Jerry and Grant, Campaign, all these guys that can't do that. So I would like to see maybe Antonio Blakeney grow into a backup point guard role, and you never know. He could get really good.
Yeah, he could get good. He actually has. I feel like he has the potential for it. Honestly, like a Sean Livingston role.
Yeah, that's kind of the comp that I think of in my head a little bit of what I hope he can become. I mean, obviously, Sean Livingston isn't playing point guard, but
he fills in Steph's role when he's not there. Like, he'll start in Steph's position when he's not there.
And that's what I think the Bulls need.
Yeah.
And if you have a player that you think can fill those types of like 3-point shooting roles, which that's what the Bulls have in Antonio Blakeney, and can fill someone who creates his own shot when the other guys are on the bench resting, I think you keep him. Because you always need a playmaker on the court. You always need someone who can do something for you while you don't have anyone else who can when people are cold. And I feel like that's always important to have. Because players do get cold. Like, you could be a really great player and still miss a bunch of shots.
Paul George.
Yeah, or the 2011 Mavs series. I don't have to say the name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Come on, bro.
No, I'm just saying, bro.
This is the second time you just go out of your way.
It's the same one.
This is the second time.
I'm just saying,
You know what? If Big Chubb was here, he would not appreciate
Dude,
it.
all I'm saying is that one was those are two easy like comps that everyone knows about. So, you know what I mean? I gotta talk about them. Now, I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. But one thing we did talk about earlier before we started recording was this trade that the Warriors wanted to do. And we did talk about it before, but the AD, Draymond, and Clay trade. Now, how do you guys feel about that?
So basically, they're gonna try and trade. Well, if this happened, they would trade probably AD for Clay and Dre, and they'd also get rid of a bunch of other players in the roster just for the salary cap to work. And honestly, I feel like that would be a good trade because you always want to take the better player in the end. If you like, imagine Steph being a third option on a championship team. That's ridiculous. They would honestly be unstoppable.
Wait. Time out. You think that AD joining the Warriors will make Steph
the third option potentially? You don't
know. Wait. I just want to make this like Steph Curry, third option.
Who would be your third option?
Wait. Even when Kevin Durant for some situations,
he outscored him. He outplayed him.
No, I know, but Steph is still the first option in a lot of situations, especially the ones that count, like shooting the last shot.
No, KD definitely shot more last shots at the end of games and stuff.
KD has openly said, "I hate taking the last shot."
But he always does it. And Draymond, there's been times where Draymond's gotten mad during games at KD because he took the last shot.
He passed it up in that Rockets series where he passed it to Clay.
Yeah, I guess
in a very important moment.
That's true. It's the playoffs. He has a point.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I think at most he could be the second, but I don't think
who would be your third option then?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that like Steph is never the third option, even if they have.
Oh,
Anthony
I get
Davis.
you.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Like, I understand that KD could be the first. Sometimes Steph is the first. Like, it might change during situations, but I do feel like AD would still be third option just because like the way that they score is completely different.
Yeah, honestly, I hate the idea of him going to the Warriors at all because I just think, well, what else do you want from us? Like, what? How much do you want to? Which, I mean, honestly, it's not their job to stop the league from getting ruined.
Yeah,
but they are doing it. So I'm gonna say it. They're ruining the league.
They're ruining it.
And
look, man.
But I would love to see Klay Thompson play in a situation in which Steph and KD aren't there, especially away from Steph. I think that would be really cool to see. And plus, like, even just this last playoffs, like, Klay's been heating up. Like, he's showing people, yo, I have a personality.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. But I just don't want AD to go to the Warriors.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. I just want to clarify a couple things. With regards to the salaries, Clay and Draymond make about $10 million more than AD. So it
would be fine just the two of them out of there?
I think they'd have to get rid of some more because it's $10 million.
Oh, okay,
for the Pelicans.
They would probably get rid of. They would probably keep Livingston and Iguodala.
No. The Pelicans would have to get rid of them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to clarify is that, in my opinion, on a team with Steph Curry, KD, and AD, there is no first option, second option, third option. They're all like good enough to be a first option.
I didn't. That really sounds bad when I say it like that. They're all going to be doing exactly their role and all their numbers. I was just saying, talent-wise, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't count Zaza out though. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, he's first.
Yeah.
When he gets hot, man.
Dude, it's like Steph is 1 and Zaza's like 1A. You know what I mean? Like
right. You're right.
They're so close. I mean,
Look,
both
when
as
Steph,
important.
When
You
Steph
wanna win
went
a series?
down,
I'll take out the best player.
yeah.
on
When
the team.
Steph goes
Sure.
down, you know who steps up? Zaza.
Yeah,
You
because
put him at
yeah.
point guard.
Dude, if Zaza, I mean, Emilio brings up a good point. Like, if someone is beating the Warriors, dude, Zaza will beat him up more.
Zaza will literally break their legs.
He will do whatever it takes. And you know what? That's something that I feel like, a lot of players wouldn't do because, I mean, suspensions, like, you lose money.
Look,
but
that's
Zaza,
Enough of this.
Zaza, do whatever.
I do not advocate for injuring other players. Screw you, Zaza.
Yeah, I don't like you, Zaza.
Me either. I was joking if you didn't know, but
I was like, nah,
Zaza's,
not your player.
yeah, we're not very big fans of like messing up a playoff series.
I'm sorry, headphone users, if you had to hear that.
But part of me feels like this though. I also feel like when I talked about the last shot type of thing, I feel like if you have Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, you're probably not gonna have to worry about a last shot. I'm just gonna say that right now because it's like you're probably gonna be in a very good situation where I don't know a lot of people who can guard Kevin Durant. I don't know how a lot of people who can really like effectively guard Steph Curry.
You really can't guard all three of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Definitely can't.
Because who are you gonna double? And if you double one, then what are you gonna do to the other?
Right.
Like the big problem with the Pelicans was that like when they were going up against the Warriors is that they found out we got to make sure Anthony Davis doesn't get hot. And now Drew Holiday would occasionally get hot, but Drew Holiday isn't Anthony Davis.
Right.
He's gonna have some really good games, but Anthony Davis is still your core.
My question to you, Zeke, though, while we're on the topic, who would you, if you had the option, like I can decide who has the ball in their hands for this last shot, who would you rather take, KD or Steph Curry?
Steph, look, KD is phenomenal, and he's taller, but I feel like Steph has proven himself more. If you look back at like game winners, I mean, I know this is a really vague stack saying Steph has more proven game winners than KD, but in the final moments, Steph has always arrived. The only time he really hasn't was the 2016 finals. But if you look at any other instance and how he came back 3-1 against the Thunder and then they lost 3-1, but that was all through him. And then he had that final shot. I don't remember if it was playoffs or regular seasons where he hit that 3 like half court against the Thunder and made that. Like he can literally hit a shot from anywhere and he can drive. And so can KD. And I just feel like KD is just a tiny bit less of a better shooter than Steph. And so Steph can get anywhere and he only needs a little bit of room, whereas KD, even though he's taller, if someone's right in his face, sometimes he doesn't make it. I mean, he does make it a lot, but sometimes he doesn't, and Steph wouldn't risk that.
I mean, Chris Paul was giving him a hard time. Like that's something.
Right.
That's something to consider.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say, Zeke. I think with regards to like killer instinct, we can't really quantify it. We know that KD and Steph both have, like, I know it's sort of a meme at this point, but the Mamba mentality.
Right.
They both have it, but I think Steph has more of it.
Steph definitely has more of it, but I
we all agree there.
don't think that either of them have Mamba mentality, but they do have a killer instinct. I will say that. It's just part of me feels like, how could you say that one of them has like Mamba mentality when they have like 2 MVPs on one team and they have Klay Thompson and
So you
Draymond
can argue
Green.
Steph, but not really KD.
Well, yeah, because KD was like, "Hey, man, it's kind of tough to win. You
Can't
know, if you
beat
can't
him?
beat him, yeah,
Join him.
And that's the thing. But I want to ask you guys a question. So, who do you think, if you guys can answer this, like, who do you think is your favorite player of this draft? It doesn't have to be Rookie of the Year. If you want to say who you think is going to be Rookie of the Year, then by all means say it, because I'm all about it.
Ready for some hot takes.
But if who's your favorite player? Just let me know.
This probably won't be a shock to anyone. Mo Bamba. And I am so upset that the Magic took him because the Magic are trash. Mo Bamba is not going to reach his ceiling at all.
I'm sorry. In 5 years, you'll be working at like Starbucks or something. I'm sorry, man.
I don't think it's quite that bad.
Who?
Mo Bamba, because he got drafted to the Magic. They're going to ruin his career.
I mean, well, I don't know about that because, I mean, a lot of Orlando centers have definitely been great, you know.
But right
Dwight
now,
Howard,
I'm saying the
Shaquille
management
O'Neal.
right now. The management was different back then, though. The management now is terrible. For the last 5 years, they keep going into the lottery and keep drafting people and keep drafting wrong.
The organization is terrible. Like, they just don't have a good team. And, like, sure, Bamba might get more minutes, but, like, they're not good developmental minutes. So I'm really upset to see him go. He was my favorite player in the draft, but I don't think I can say that anymore
close to the
for his future.
Wait. Oh, Jack, I actually have a question for you real quick. Who do you like better, though, DeAndre Ayton or Mo Bamba?
It's see, I know like in a vacuum, DeAndre Ayton probably is going to be the better player, but I think Mo Bamba could have been the more complete player because Ayton's defensive abilities aren't that amazing. I think. Sorry, and I know what you're going to say, Emilio. Mo Bamba's offensive abilities aren't that amazing. I think that if Bamba were in a better situation, he could work out his offensive shortcomings better than Ayton could work out his defensive ones.
I agree.
See, I actually disagree, and this is why. Though I will say Mo Bamba is definitely my top 3 of this draft. I'm not too sure who my top 1 is. I have some favorites, but I think it's a way easier thing for Ayton to work on his defensive chops than for Mo Bamba to increase his productivity as a scorer, which as a big, I mean, he's going to have to either fit inside the rim or have a decent mid-range. At least that's the way I see it in my game. But what I'm saying is a lot of the problem, at least from what I saw, Ayton has an incredible hustle when it came to the offensive plays and what needed to be done to get the next bucket. But it seemed like what he lacked in a sense defensively was foot placement, 1. 2, just being aggressive.
Talking about DeAndre Ayton.
Right,
right
and 3 was that like he would give up. He would give up a lot.
DeAndre Ayton?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when defending people. And I think that's an easier thing to work on than teaching somebody how to shoot better. Because as we all know, if everyone could shoot better, everyone would do it.
Yeah. I kind of agree more with Jack, but I see what you're saying. And if you look at DeAndre Ayton, he definitely has the right body to become a really good defender. Like his wingspan, it's not as big as Mo Bamba's, but it's still crazy, you know.
Well, is that 7 feet 10 inches?
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
Kind of ridiculous.
I look at Mo Bamba and I looked at his playing style, and like I feel like he could really become like a greater shooter. He can work on like his footwork, and he could become a really, really solid offensive player. I guess the comparison that I see between you guys is who would be able to elevate their opposite more, and I feel like Mo Bamba would be able to evaluate it more than DeAndre Ayton.
I think though that a thing that we might be looking at though is that when you look at Mo Bamba, though, he's not regarded as highly as DeAndre Ayton. So if he does play well, it's going to look amazing, right? But if DeAndre Ayton plays well, it's just going to be like, oh, well, that's what he was supposed to do.
Right.
So I do think, though, that it might be easier for him to be a better defender, DeAndre Ayton. But at the same time, well, because of his strength and his physicality and all that stuff. But it's a matter of want. And that's the thing about defense. It's like you have to want to.
Oh, yeah.
And so you never know if that's what he actually wants to do. So that's why it's hard to quantify, like, you know, well, is he actually going to be the better defender? He can be. He definitely can be, but you have to want it. That's the whole thing about defense. If you don't want it, well, you're not going to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's really the same effect for either player in that situation, because what Bamba would need is to develop his shot a little bit more, and then Ayton would just need to play all around better defense. It's kind of the same situation, at least the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the upside, though. I see it. Ayton is a monster. The guy looks incredible. He has physicality. He had like just natural born ability to do anything. And I think just with that in mind, I think like improving defensively is not going to be an issue, especially with the right people around you. Which does he have the right people around him? That's the argument. But
yeah. So would you say that he's your favorite player in the draft?
See, I'm not sure who my favorite player is in the draft. There's a lot of people I like. Like I like Kevin Knox, I like Ayton, I like Mo Bamba, but I'm not too sure. If I was to bet who's gonna do the best, I'd say probably DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, makes sense. What about you, Zeke?
I'm actually with Emilio on this. Last year, my favorite was definitely Markelle Fultz, which I was wrong, or at least so far I was wrong about. But this year, I literally don't even have a favorite. I mostly just looked at the rookies that the Bulls were going to draft too. So I feel like Trae Young could be in there if he lives up to his potential. And usually the potential players are not good their first year, so probably not. So if you're looking at someone that's going to give you like the most success out of their first year, Marvin Bagley, the third, I feel like is going to be probably the rookie of the year.
Yeah, that is a That's a good call.
That is a possibility. I think, though, a lot of people are taken away from Marvin Bagley because he can't really shoot. And now that might not be something he needs to do because he plays around the basket.
Right, Simmons might get the
But every player is way better as a shooter.
But Simmons also has a lot of assists.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
and his
There
versatility, his tallness, and what he uses his speed.
Yeah, there are a lot of different things here. But for me,
yeah, okay.
for
Wait, what did you say, Jack?
I said
said
tallness,
tallness.
and he was like, tallness? Don't you mean height?
Oh my gosh. Well,
I always flub on here, okay? Every podcast I always say
it's
something
okay,
wrong.
but so my thing is that I feel like for me, I don't think you can go wrong with like having your favorite players of either of the Bridges. Now, it is tough for me because I do like both of them. Now, Mikal, on the one hand, has the speed. They both are versatile scorers in any way. Like, they can both do a lot of things, and they're both the same height. So it makes it a little like difficult to say like what, and they play the same position to say who you like more. But for me, I feel like I think my favorite player, because I just really want to see how he turns out, is Miles. Just because, I saw this guy, and I feel like he has a lot of physicality, and he has such a high motor, and if he pans out, I feel like he can be something special because he's a scorer that's strong, and the last time we have like a scorer that's really strong that plays a small forward position, I feel like I'm not saying he's going to be this guy at all, so don't take it that way. It's just like it's a LeBron James. Like Miles uses his body, LeBron James uses his body, and that's why I think it's interesting because a lot of players in today's league are just fast players, and they do use their speed very well, and it is very nice to watch. But I do like a post game a little bit too. Like I've been known to love Hakeem's Dream Shake like crazy. Right. That thing is awesome. It's not super powerful, but man, it can make you miss. That's for sure. And that's the thing I miss about the NBA. So if he can pan out and show all of his different moves inside, outside, just everywhere, I feel like I would be super happy with that, and just like I would love to see it. And that's why he is my favorite player, because I feel like if he does pan out, we'll see all those things, and it'll be very nice and very fun to watch just from the future going on from this point. And there's nothing more you can ask for a player that just wants to kill the guy in front of him,
Right.
And I love that. So for me, my favorite player in this draft is Miles Bridges.
What's your rookie of the year?
My rookie of the year, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It is definitely tough because I feel like the player that's in the best position to be the rookie of the year is DeAndre Ayton, because he's going to get a lot. He's going to get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so that's it. It's really hard for me to pick because I feel like there are some players that aren't in the best situations to do that. Now, you could even say that sounds crazy, but you could even say Miles Bridges could do that because he is on a team where he's gonna have a really huge role too to fill.
Hey, that's not that crazy because Donovan Mitchell's in the race for rookie of the year and he was pretty much second round. So
yeah, I'm
pretty sure he was 13.
Oh, I'm dumb. I was thinking about Kuzma.
Yeah, he was almost not a
Kuzma
lottery.
was almost, yeah. I feel like I can't really say who because I'm so torn in between three people, but I feel like the three people that really have a good chance of doing so for me is Mikal, Miles, and DeAndre. And I know that's probably not Mikal and Miles aren't people that like a lot of people are gonna think could be the rookie of the year.
Highly regarded.
Yeah, like highly regarded in that sense. But think about it this way: they're both players that are gonna have to take on huge roles on their team. Mm-hmm. Now, the only thing that might be tough for Mikal is that he's on the same team as DeAndre Ayton. And who do you think they're gonna give the ball more, DeAndre or Mikal?
Exactly.
So, for me, I don't know who I think are the number. I'm gonna think about it a little bit more. Who do you guys think if you have someone?
I do have before I continue on, I just want to ask Jack a question.
Yo.
So, if you were picking for your team and you had the option, you're taking Mo Bamba over DeAndre Ayton.
That's
you got
because
him there.
because I'm just saying you were all hot, and now I wanna put it in perspective.
I know I asked me that. I think I have to say no. I think I would take Ayton just because he's more he's highly
Potential.
touted, and like he's safer. Like Brandon was saying, I think like an offensive game without a defensive game is probably a player you can rely on more than a defensive game without an offensive game.
Like I was saying too.
Yeah. So I like Bamba's ceiling more than I like Ayton's actually, but I still would take Ayton in a vacuum.
Wait,
well, I mean, why don't you put your money where your mouth is, though? That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
Honestly, if I'm honest with you, I would argue that a defensive player with like almost no offense is more reliable than an offensive player just because of consistency. I'm not saying that that he's going to be the better player. I'm just saying that with defense, like every great defensive player in our league, they every single night they like almost never have a bad defensive night. They're always all over the boards, and offense is just hot and cold. I'm not saying that the offense with no defense is like
but what do you want more?
Player.
What do you want more?
Oh,
though?
Definitely the offense. I'm
so
just
that's
saying.
What I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
The thing is though, like the offense is what makes you in more situations often than not. Like the offense is what makes you a great player. Now there are some outliers like a Dennis Rodman. You know, there are some players like that where they're just so good at the defensive side of the ball or doing other things that you can forgive them for that.
Mm-hmm.
That you can say, okay, you just helped me in another way, in a way that I need it immensely. But the thing is though, at the end of the day, the one who has the most points is the one who wins.
Yeah.
And defense can slow down that amount of points. But in basketball, it's not like a sport like soccer where you can just shut someone out. Like, you're never going to shut someone out with 0 points. They're always going to score no matter what.
Here's what I got. I think you're right, Brendan. Offense is what makes a star. Because at the moment, in terms of centers, Rudy Gobert is probably the best or second best defender at center, and Karl Anthony Towns is like top 5 in offensive centers, maybe even higher. And Karl Anthony Towns is way more highly touted as a star than Rudy Gobert is.
Yeah, and I think that I think that Karl Anthony Towns shouldn't even be a center. I think he should be a power forward.
Yeah, I was just responding to the who was more reliable. I was just looking at it through the sense of let's just take the Celtics from like 2 years ago. Someone Brad Stevens goes up to Avery Bradley and was like, "Hey, are you going to show out tonight?" And he says yes, and he always has a good defensive night, but he can't say the same for Isaiah or any other offensive player. So I was just answering to reliable, not really who was better.
Yeah, but the question reliable, like, as in, like, who can you rely on to perform at the peak that you're expecting to perform on, right?
Right.
So I think the better question, especially in this situation, is not who is more reliable to complete their role, but who's gonna win you the game. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Oh, well, definitely the offensive player.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's why, and I think Aiden, I mean, even with LeBron James, he didn't play much that's something that's been criticized for a lot.
On the Heat, he was really good defensively,
and like I've even seen, like, in the playoffs, he just watches a guy fly by in the paint, and when he thinks it's too late, it's just too late, and he's not going to give it an effort.
Or he'll let someone shoot a 3-pointer occasionally. You just like stay in the paint.
Right, and that's an easier thing to fix, I think, than whether if you're going to land a shot or not. But I mean, I definitely see both sides.
Yeah. Okay, Zeke. But who do you think has for the rookie of the year?
Then I said Marvin Bagley the third.
Oh yeah, you
right?
did, right? Oh yeah, you did say that. You're my bad. Wait, but why do you think Marvin Bagley the third?
I just feel like that's the safest option. I feel like all of the players for rookie of the year are all potential players, and I don't really want to take my chance with that.
Okay. So did any of your other guys have any opinions on rookie of the year?
I mean, I think 1 and 2, Ayton and Bagley, make the most sense. If there's someone like in the middle of the first round that has that potential, I think it's harder to call. I like that you're putting your money on Miles Bridges because you see that potential, but it's something that it's a lot harder for people to make that decision on. Because I don't think many people were calling Donovan Mitchell for rookie of the year or second place in rookie of the year a year ago.
See, and I'm not gonna say nobody because I'm gonna wait at least until the summer league's over. I gotta see somebody who do something.
Wait, so you haven't made like a?
Yeah, I'm not.
All right, maybe my I will change after the summer league.
After the summer league, we'll have a definitive
answer. We'll have
an
official one.
We'll see, and then we'll see who's right. Then for sure. So summer league
Michael
championship.
Porter Jr. is winning it.
So he might not even play.
That's a joke.
We're still gonna give it to you.
But summer league, after the summer league championship, we'll see what goes on. Mm-hmm. But also one thing I want to say before we head out today is, like, please ask us more questions. We're always down to answer, and we're always down for questions because, like, we love interacting with you guys. When the first question we got, we were also happy about it, and we would love to see more. So if you listen and you get to this point, because this is an hour-long podcast, so just let us know what you want to hear. Let us know whatever you're thinking, and we'll try to answer it the best we can. We'll research it. We'll give you the best answer we possibly could.
Right, and if you hear something that you think is incredibly dumb, go ahead and go into that comment section and tear us apart. You know what I'm saying? Hold us accountable.
Yeah,
Say
we're not
whatever
right all
you
the time.
want. We don't get offended by anything.
Yeah, for real. It's like as long we just want.
I mean, don't talk about my mom.
Well, yeah. Don't say like
That's it.
me like uncalled for stuff. But you keep it to basketball or like just for like.
Dude, just say what you want.
Keep my
You don't
mama
have
out of
to
this.
say
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, so I'm just saying like keep the. We just want the interactions. So if you guys can do that. Also, we don't really ask for this, but if you guys do like the podcast, if you could share it, that would be nice. Like, I don't want to be that type of guy who asks like please share and this and that, but like if you feel like you like it, then maybe somebody else will, and that's all we really want to do. We just want to get out good content.
At least we said it at the end of the video, not the beginning. If you guys like the podcast, please share it. You know what? You know how people are.
Because I mean, at least we give you the content first, and then you can decide what you want from there. I also just want to say thank you for all of our listeners around the world. I know we have a lot of them, but mainly it seems like from like we see in YouTube analytics, like our Singapore listeners and our people from Finland, our Finnish listeners, and our Australian listeners. Thank you so much for supporting us.
We appreciate the love, y'all.
Yeah, and I hope you guys continue
awesome.
to listen. Like obviously, a lot of our listeners still come from the United States, but we appreciate everyone who listens, and I just wanted to say that. So if you guys want to keep on listening, just keep on. We're going to talk more about Lowry. Probably going to talk more about Ben Simmons. I don't know any Singapore players that
Yeah, we're sorry, guys.
But
shout
hey,
out to y'all.
yeah, just thanks for listening. I just wanted to say thank you. But this is going to be it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. This is the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Zeke Cappel.
Emilio.
Jack Cowart.
and thanks for listening.